we go. All right. Welcome. Episode 28 of the Soul's Kitchen podcast with Krista Leavittts Curl Specialist here from Fredericton, New Brunswick. Welcome, Krista.
Thanks so much, Lisa. I'm so happy
Yeah.
to be here. I'm glad you invited
Good.
me on your podcast.
Absolutely. Anytime. So we want to talk about here. Like to have conversations with people who are living their soul's desire or purpose, and you are, I think, doing just that.
I think so.
I think you are, yeah. So let's talk about how that all happened to you, because you are working now in Fredericton. I know you've worked in other cities, but as a curl specialist. So you are a hair dresser for what is a better word for hairdresser these days?
I don't know. I think the modern term is like hairstylist. I think originally it might have been hairdresser.
Right.
But I think hairstylist and barbers are different than hairstylists.
Barbers are different.
Different profession and training.
How did you start to or want to specialize in curls? I know there's a story there.
There is a story there.
Yeah.
So I had worked as a traditional stylist for maybe 9 or 10 years. We did my husband was in the military, so we did a posting to a city where I wasn't going to be able to do hair because we were only going to be there for 2 years. So I thought I can't get attached to people and then move again.
Right.
So I took a break with the kids. We did actually another move in that time frame, and I had another baby. So 3 kids, 2 of them were off to school. I'm at a bus stop. Hadn't gone back to work yet because I just had another baby. And a neighbor actually at the bus stop arrived one day and had just got back from getting a haircut. And she was so upset and distraught. And she said, I don't understand why hairdressers don't know how to cut curly hair. I can never get a good haircut. And I've tried everybody who says they know how to cut curly hair, and it's just bad every time. And I kind of waited till the other parents had left, and I kind of talked to her aside, and I said, honestly, it's really because hairdressers. I said, I'm a hairdresser, and I said, I was new to that city at the time, so I didn't really know her, but I thought I'm just going to let her know that it's really because we don't have any training in how to cut and style naturally curly hair. Is not part of the curriculum. There's not a single piece of the curriculum dedicated to wavy, curly, or tight curly hair. There's about 3 sentences in the textbook about naturally curly hair. And it's really about tight curls and cutting with, wet with conditioner and a comb, just like traditional cutting.
Yeah.
So I said, that's why. And I said, some hairdressers have learned some things along the way from other hairdressers that have passed information down, but really there's no training. And I said, if you're open to it, let me see if I can try and fix the haircut a little bit. And I said, I'll go to the beauty supply store and look for some products that might help you control the curl while this cut grows out. Because I think they had used the texturizing shears, which are the scissors with the teeth. And they just end up with disaster on naturally curly hair. So if you want to wear it curly. And so went to the beauty supply store, saw the Diva Curl products on the shelf for the very first time. They were new at that time into the beauty supply store. And I thought, something reminded me about these products that there was a book that a lady had written. And I thought to myself, I think the lady who wrote that book made these products. So I went across the street to the Chapters Indigo, picked up this book actually, which is right here.
Cool.
Because I meant to have this prepared. So it's called Curly Girl, the Handbook. So Lorraine Massey wrote this book, and she then developed these Diva Curl products in her kitchen, really. It grew from a very small place to a very large corporation. And so I picked up this book, went back, dropped off the products, and said, I'm just going to read this book and see if there's any tips on using the product. There must be some information in there. And as I was reading this book, there was a sentence that says, where there's frizz, there's a curl waiting to happen. And that was my light bulb moment. That was like the Oprah aha moment. Where I went, wait a minute, I have frizzy hair. Maybe my hair's curly.
So you weren't wearing your hair curly at that time?
No. So I was like maybe 32, 33 years old. How have you been a traditional stylist?
So you were straightening it?
9 or 10 years, straightening it or blowing it out and then curling, ironing it just to control the frizz. And where this said, where there's frizz, there's a curl waiting to happen. And I would say there would have been no stylist leading up to that time that said, hey, I think you have naturally curly hair. Do you want me to like
Right.
help you and break, like help style, like show you how to style it? There was nothing of that in the industry or anyone offered. I had really had no idea. I just thought I was cursed with horribly frizzy hair and I would
Wow.
straighten it or curling iron it. So I thought, geez, maybe I have curly hair because mine's frizzy. And so I went back to the beauty supply store and picked up the Diva products for myself and, continued to read this book, use the tips
Mhm.
from it. This is the book here. Use the tips from it and to try and help my neighbor and myself. And
Yeah.
as both of our hair started to transform, I started to get really angry. And I thought, I was talking to her one day and I said, I just don't understand why. I was never taught any of this in hair school. It would have
Mhm.
made my life so much easier as a client, having
Right.
hair myself, as a person. I would have actually learned that my hair was really pretty and not a horrible curse.
Hmm.
And I said, somebody really needs to do something about this in the industry. And she said, well, aren't you a hairstylist with a license? Couldn't you do something? And I was like,
Yeah.
maybe I could. So
Yeah.
I decided to get back to work. I opened a salon in my house and with the intention of doing all the traditional types of hair services,
Mhm.
but I decided to put a curly service on the menu, which was kind of
Mhm.
like, come for a dry cut based on what I learned in the book, Cutting Curl by
Right.
Curl. And then I'll teach you how to style it. So that was like my initial service. And when I was telling other hairstylists who I used to work with, like in salons that I had worked at,
Mhm.
what I was up to, and I was so excited for this, they said, no one is going to book for that service for curly hair. No
Mhm.
one with curly hair wants to wear their hair curly. They want to wear it straight. They want to have
Right.
straight hair. They don't want curly hair. And I said, I really have this feeling that, because I experienced this transformation with
Right.
my own hair, that if someone would have taught me how to style my hair curly and given me a really, good cut for my curls, I think I would have enjoyed wearing it curling and I would have wanted to wear it curly. And I believe that other people will feel the same
Right.
way if someone shows them. So I continued to, start the salon. And within
Curly
about 5 or
service.
6 months, I would say, after opening my salon with that little curly service on the menu with
Mhm.
all the other services,
Mhm.
cuts, men's cuts, kids cuts, colors,
All the
straightening,
things.
whatever,
Yeah.
all the normal things you'd have. The only people who were calling in droves and booking my calendar solid were people who had naturally
Curly
wavy,
hair.
curly, and tight curly hair.
Wow.
And one day I actually had a client who she would have been probably mid 50s. She was really quiet and I styled her hair and I, shook up her roots and I fluffed it and I made it all feel soft and lovely. And I turned her around in the mirror and tears started to flow down her face. And I thought, oh my God, she's been so quiet.
Right.
Maybe she doesn't like it at all. Maybe she hates it. And when she finally spoke, she said, I have wished and dreamt of hair like this my whole life, and I didn't know it was possible until today.
Wow.
And I thought, this is it. I think I just
You
need to do
found it.
curls. Yeah,
Oh,
I just need to
amazing.
do curls.
I
So
love
that's
that
how I
story.
started. Yeah, and it was very grassroots. I had no idea what I was doing. I just felt a calling that this is um,
Right.
something that people with naturally wavy, curly, and tight
Mhm.
curly hair, they've never had the experience of coming to a salon, having their hair cut and styled, and actually, I shouldn't say they never have, but it's not as common for you to
Right.
go to a salon and really love the hair you walk out with in your
Right.
natural curl pattern. That's not as common. Normally,
Yeah.
you're offered to have it. Can I blow it out for you? Can I,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, smooth it for you? Because the haircut that was just given to you, if your hair's been cut wet, it's been cut wet with tension and tautness, and it's very technically even when you pull it straight.
Right.
So it's going to look best when it's blown out straight. But when
Right.
you wash it as the client, the next time you wash your hair,
It's not
it
gonna
could
turn
be
out the
all over
same.
the place
Yeah.
because the curls are at
Are
different
different.
spring
Yeah.
factors, like curly ribbon from Christmas,
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
has to be cut somewhat visually. There's also
Right.
technical skills to cutting naturally curly hair and every foundational map and how to cut it. It's not haphazard. There is a systematic way to cut the
Right.
curls, but especially around the bottom, the perimeter, it has to be cut quite visually. So
Okay.
anyway, so that's
So,
kind of what happens.
well, I'm so glad that you followed that. So this was in, sorry, Ontario?
This was in Ontario in 2013,
2013.
when I opened the business. Probably
Right.
a year or so prior was when I went through this Oprah aha moment, reading this
Right.
book, helping the
Where
neighbor.
there's frizz, there's
Um,
curl. That's
where
amazing.
there's frizz, there's curl waiting to happen, and that's not my words. That's Lorraine Massey's
That's
words. So,
okay. So
but
did
that
you
really helped me.
yeah. You said your husband was in the military, so you eventually
Mhm.
came to Fredericton, um,
Yeah.
and now
Mhm.
are doing your business again out of your home, and I think you've got a pretty good, like, following, and I know you travel
Yeah.
as well to Ontario, like, you still go back and do I think that's what you were doing here for a while, because I know I went to, like, it was like a workshop that you had done at the Delta Hotel here in Fredericton. I remember it quite a few years ago. My sister-in-law and
Yeah.
I went. We're like, "Let's go," 'cause and that was a game changer for me, just
Yeah. I
attending your
actually
workshop.
Was it?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so good. Yeah,
yeah,
I was actually living in Ontario and getting posted around to different cities. So 3
right.
different cities in Ontario I had my salon. Um, but I had a client who saw me in that first city that I was in Trenton, Ontario, and she said she got posted to Gagetown, so here in Oromocto, and
Mhm,
she said, "I have tried everywhere, and I cannot find somebody to cut my hair like you do. I cannot get a decent curly haircut. I just
mm,
wish you could come here and cut my hair." And I said, "You know what, Brenda? Maybe I can." I said,
mm.
I have my best friend from hair school is there. And because I went to the Atlantic Hairstyling Academy
Okay.
22, 23 years ago. And I said, my in-laws are there, so maybe I can just stay with one of them and
Mhm.
I'll just put it out on Facebook. Hey, is anybody interested in
Right,
learning how, like having a haircut for your curls and learning how to style your hair? And, if I get enough interest, I'll come. And that's what happened. So I booked a whole bunch of people, booked solid that first trip. And I continued to come back until I had about 60 regular clients. And I
wow,
would work 7 days straight, 12-hour days doing those
right,
60 people. And I still had people saying, I'd love to get a haircut with you. And I thought, I can't handle any more clients. I have
right.
like little kids at home.
Yeah,
And so I thought maybe, because that was 2016, the first show at the Delta, I
okay,
rented a ballroom there and I
yep,
just thought, hey, I still need to help these people. I can't give them a haircut. I can't give everybody a haircut, but I can teach them how to style it. And I can
mhm,
teach them what a proper kind of curly haircut, what it should look like, what the service should
right,
look like. No razors, no thinning shears, no carving and slicing and taking weight out of the hair,
right, right,
like teach them what to ask a stylist for when they go to get their haircut. So,
mhm,
um, anyway, so I did that, and it was so popular that I came back the following year and did another one. I rented the Tom Morrison Theater
okay,
at the FHS high school and
wow,
did another one. And then I filmed it. I had a film crew come in. I filmed it, and I didn't quite know what I was going to use the content for, but I thought I'm going to use it for something. And I ended
mhm,
up turning it into an online course to help people around the world. So anybody can
wow,
buy that online styling course. It's called the Wave and Curl Foundations online course, and you can buy it on my website, which is curlspecialist.com.
okay,
And
that's
for
amazing.
$47, including tax, you can learn how to cut or how to wash and style and care for and maintain your hair through all seasons of the year. So
Right,
there's
that's
a
amazing.
video, about 3 hours of video, a
Okay,
70-page ebook, like there's lots of, and
right,
a free Facebook group. So you can, from
okay,
buying the
go
course, you
in
can come in my Facebook group and ask questions about if you need help, and
about
I'll answer. And about 1,500 other people who are my
that
clients and who have
will
taken the
answer.
class can help you too. So,
Did you go on to do any other education for yourself, like with curls, like after reading that book?
oh yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it was hard to find classes at that time,
yeah,
because like curly hair, it was obviously Diva Curl had a kind of flagship salon in New York City,
right,
and they were just starting to come and travel and teach. So the first class I found was Diva Curl came to Toronto area,
mhm,
and I took a 1-day class there. Through that 1-day class, in the morning I learned how to do one longer haircut. And in the afternoon, I learned how to use the Diva Curl products, which was a great start. But I remember thinking after that, this can't be it. This
right,
cannot
there's
be
more.
all the information I need to cut
Yeah,
everybody's curls. Like that was just one curl type. What happens when it's tighter
amazing.
or looser
Yeah,
or whatever? So one of the educators happened to be from Ontario, and
mhm,
I contacted her and said, would you mind? Could I come shadow you for a day or two?
mm,
I just need to know, is there more to it? And there
mhm,
was. So
mhm,
after that, I booked a trip to New York City to go to the Diva Curl Academy. I became part of a grassroots, basically a whole bunch of people interested in cutting
Right.
curls, working with curls, got together, hairstylists got together and hosted their own event. It was called Curly Hair Artistry.
Okay.
And so they had a symposium, and that was probably for about, I don't know, 5 to 7 years. Every year we met,
Hmm.
and taught each other basically, because
Right. Tricks. Yeah.
there's very little training on naturally curly hair worldwide. Usually product companies kind of create
Hmm.
their own cutting style, like We Dad cuts wet, and they do carve and slice the
Okay.
curls, so
Right.
um, every hairdresser has different training and kind of subscribes to different philosophies maybe.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I went trained in Atlanta, Georgia. I trained in Detroit, Michigan, and
Okay.
gosh, where else have I trained? A few other places, but those are the
Right.
big ones. Yeah, I went to New York City a couple times for the Diva Curl Academy.
So fun. So you brought, well, obviously you have your salon here, and I know that it's successful because you're always booked.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a wait
Um,
list right now. Maybe there's probably about 60 people, but there's still availability to book appointments. So
yeah.
new clients usually have like 2 to 4 new client appointments a month available. So you can still join the wait list. You can still become a client. I'll
Right.
always do new clients. It just might slow
Yeah.
down a little bit. Mhm.
Yeah. Just between appointments. And I know you're doing some education as well. Like recently you were going to the schools.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a couple different things on the go. So I'm currently offering one-on-one stylist training.
Hmm.
So stylists would come because I have a small
Okay.
space.
Right.
So they'd come here and train at my salon with me, or a salon can hire me in New Brunswick
Hmm.
area, maybe the Maritimes. I haven't done much traveling for work teaching yet. I did fly to Newfoundland and did a class in Newfoundland for a
Oh,
salon.
that's cool.
Um, but yeah, so just hair salon can actually hire me to come and teach their
Hmm.
salon staff, and it can be customized to whatever they want to learn about. And then the one-to-one training for the professionals. But also, I started an initiative for middle school students,
Mm.
because for me, when I think about my hair, I'm going to grab my
Right.
pictures, kind of show you. So when I think about
Yeah.
myself and my hair, when I was in junior high, I was so self-conscious of my hair. I felt like, I don't know, you kind of feel like an ugly duckling, and people make fun of you for your frizzy hair,
Yeah. I
and call you
remember.
all sorts of names. And, I mean, that's just kids for you. But,
Yeah.
I thought about, I think my son, it was probably, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years ago, actually. 10, 12 years ago. I'm trying to think how old he is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, I was at a graduation ceremony for grade 8.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting, all the parents were in the back and all the graduating students were in the front of the church. And from the back, all I could see was curly hair that had been brushed.
Mm.
No product, no
Yes.
styling. And I thought, gosh, I need to get into the school, and I need to teach these kids, these middle
Yeah.
school kids, before they hit high school, how to do their hair so that, it really grows their self-confidence. And because when you're more confident as a person, whether it be through working on yourself, self-awareness,
Absolutely.
esteem, but also your outside, when you feel good about yourself outside, you
It's true.
project that out into the world. And I thought, I need to teach these kids, but I could never figure out a way how to get into a
Mhm.
middle school to teach, until I moved to Fredericton, actually. And in Fredericton, middle schools have a program called Spark. And
Yes.
3 different times a year, usually it's over a 3-week period or a 4-week period. Once a week, they'll take a whole morning or
Mm.
2-hour window of their day where kids can go out in the community to learn a new skill, like mini golf or rock climbing, or
Right.
um, long trail biking or something. And then they can also have people from the community come in and teach middle school students something. So I thought, I'm going to create a middle school program,
Yeah.
and get into the middle schools here in Fredericton, and hopefully be able to teach these kids how to work with their hair. And so I've been working on this middle school program. My goal, or my dream, or my mission, maybe all of those things, is
Mhm.
to actually take this program, perfect it, and then offer it to other hairstylists around the world that also want to go into their middle schools in their communities
Right.
and teach the program. So I'm going to do the groundwork,
Amazing.
and all they have to do is, get the materials and
We'll do it.
gather it up and go into the school and teach. So it's been
What a
going
great
really
idea.
well. Yeah, the kids are
Yeah.
loving it. They're so engaged. This was, oh, I
You
was
I
going
was
to show
gonna
you. This
say,
was me when
yeah,
I was a middle schooler. Like,
that's I
I
can
I had no idea that this hair could do
do
this.
that.
It
Well,
could have if I
I
had
have a
known
picture
how.
of me too. So this was
Oh,
me.
you do?
This was me brushed. It's
Oh my
not too
goodness.
bad, but at the time it was a lot curlier than it certainly looked in that. I think
Oh,
my hair was
yes.
curlier when I was younger than it is now.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yes.
same thing. Like I went through I don't know how many bad haircuts or just people not knowing what to do with my hair until I
Right.
think eventually I just had it long and it was just long because nobody
That was
really knew how to
safe.
cut it.
Long as
It was
safe.
safe. And
Mhm,
then and I've had some like okay haircuts over the years. I don't want to like
mhm,
say anything bad about like
mhm.
hairdressers, but then
Yeah, because some hairdressers have kind of
you're
figured out how to work with it, you
but
know?
also even styling it. So your workshop helped me learn about product and how to
Mhm.
even like the squish to condish was a
Mm,
game changer. And then of
nice.
course going to you getting cuts changed everything. But yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
thanks for what you do because
Uh,
I know we people with straight hair they're like, what are you guys talking about? Well, it's a real like the struggle is real,
the
as they
struggle is
say.
real.
The
Oh, it
struggle
is,
is
yeah.
real. And
And I've got mhm.
go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was
I
gonna
was
say
gonna
I've got people. The struggle is so real that I have
mm,
people that come from all over. I have
I
a lady
bet.
that comes from New Zealand. I have a lady that comes from the Yukon. You know, PEI, Cape
Yeah.
Breton, Nova Scotia, Quebec, Montreal, Ontario. You know, they come from all
Well,
over because they really. I mean, people shouldn't have to travel that far for a good haircut and style. They really shouldn't have to.
right.
They are, and I do hope to change that within my own industry.
Yeah. Well, I think
During the
I don't know about the interest. Sorry
mm,
to interrupt you, but I think you are changing because I mean, more people with curly hair have a place or some resources. So
right,
why aren't
yeah.
there resources in the industry? Like what's
Well, I think the cosmetology programming, I would say, is very, I'm going to say Vidal Sassoon inspired. It's a very smooth,
okay.
sleek, straight
Right.
styles or curling iron work that smooths the hair and gives,
Mhm.
a very kind of like perfect
Mhm.
polished look.
Yeah.
And curly hair is not polished. It could be, but it's not consistent sometimes. And it can be, depending on the weather, things can change. So it's not as
Mhm.
predictable. But I don't, I think it's never been considered as part of the programming because maybe the demand isn't there. Maybe people with curly hair, just
Mm.
said, okay, well, straighten it, or I
I
honestly, it's
guess.
shocking because over 65% of the population has naturally wavy, curly, or tight curly hair. It's
Right.
well over 65%. It's actually you're in a minority if you can get out of the shower, do nothing to your hair, and it
Mm.
dries straight. Like if you
Okay.
have to get out of the shower and blow it out to smooth it, do that plus run a flat iron quickly through it, like you have natural texture that you could work with and
Right.
make it at least wavy.
That's a
If
good
you have to
point.
do,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's a very actually small percentage of the population that could get out of the shower and it just dry perfectly straight and no problem. Like
Yeah.
that's
Well,
actually the minority, but that somehow became the beauty standard, and I don't really know
interesting.
why.
That
Hmm.
is so interesting. Yeah, I
Hmm.
remember like even product, like there
Hmm.
wasn't product. I remember in this, I think it was the 80s when L'Oreal Mousse came out
Hmm.
and everyone running to the shelves, it was mousse. And that
Yes.
was okay for a while, but even
Yeah.
products like I think it's no silicone, is it? Or no
Oh, no sulfates.
sulfates and
Yeah,
silicone. Yeah,
sulfates would be harsh detergents that are
right.
in shampoos,
Yeah,
and the silicones really block water from being able to
right.
get into the hair.
Curly hair
Silicones
needs
are in
moisture.
conditioners and
Hmm.
styling products. So
Yeah.
when you look for products, and there's a lot more products on the market now that don't have the sulfates and silicones, uh, curly hair can kind of like it can actually accept water better. And when you step out in the humidity, it doesn't necessarily reach for the environment to get more at that time because
Ah,
it's already
gotcha.
in.
Already in the
It's already
hair.
been
Right.
worked in. The hair's been hydrated. Product has gone around these beautiful wet curls. It's been dried, and then you're left with kind of soft curls, but
Right.
definition.
Okay.
But it's sometimes harder to get that. Uh, at first, silicones can be like, wow, this is great, and it helps with my tangles, and but after time, it can build up on the
I
hair
was
and
gonna say
become
it
like
leaves a
plastic on it.
yeah, it leaves like a
Leave a
layer or a
film.
film. Yeah, that after a
Yeah,
while
and
it
with
gets
the
dulls it.
yeah, and with
Go
the
ahead.
water here in Fredericton, like even though you might be on city water, doesn't mean you have good water that your hair
Right.
love. So I had a client actually yesterday, a new client, and she said, I have to wash my hair every day. It gets really greasy and it starts to smell. I washed her hair with a clarifying shampoo and I think I just did a clarifying shampoo yesterday, but I did it twice in a row, gave her a good clean base. She said, today I woke up, she texted me, she said, good news, I got up. Not only is my scalp not greasy, but my scalp doesn't smell. And so she's like, I know it's the water. So water plays a huge role. The quality of your water plays a huge role in how your hair turns out.
Interesting.
So that's why curly hair is so difficult to figure out sometimes. It's not always the product or your method. It could be the water that you're using.
Well, that makes sense because water, same thing with coffee or food. If your water's bad, it's not going to taste good.
That's right.
So interesting. So tell us about products. Like I know you have I don't know if it's a deal, but you tell us where we can get curly hair products.
Oh, yeah. So for many years, probably 6 or 7 years, I had an online store called the Curly Hair Goodie Shop. And I decided to kind of let that go to be able to introduce teaching. I'd really love to teach and I want to get out in the community. So I was like, I can't do both. So I found an online store called curlwarehouse.com. And at Curl Warehouse, they offer all of my clients or anybody with this discount code the ability to get product every day of the year at 10% off any of the brands that I use and recommend. So they're listed under the shop tab on my website, which is curlspecialist.com. And all the products are listed there, but they're all ones that I use and recommend. And they're all 10% off every day of the year. So the code is just my first name, which is Krista. Krista. Yeah.
Perfect.
And so that's where I send my clients because everyone's buying products online these days. And I figured, as long as I know that you guys have somewhere to buy what you need, to get what you need, then I can move on and go to the teaching because that's really my passion. And I actually, I did an aptitude test back in high school, trying to figure out, what it is I might be good at. And the aptitude test, funny enough, said hairstyling. And maybe that's because I wanted it to say hairstyling, but it did say hairstyling. It said business and it said teaching. And I actually do all three of those things in my current day business. And I'm the happiest, doing all three. So
that's amazing. Well, I'm glad that you morphed into that, found your calling. And I mean, it is, it's a game changer, honestly, if anyone could go get out to see you. And I don't know. I don't want to keep going back to that, but I'm still puzzled why 65% of the population has curly hair and we're still learning about it.
Right. Well, I do think during the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement, the industry realized that they were behind the times when it came to working at their training. They realized that they didn't have an element of working with, especially tight curls. And so the Cosmetology Association of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia has my online styling course for hairstylists listed on their website. As a kind of professional development for people to take, for hairstylists, I should say. So if they want to take that training, it's there on the website. There's a link to my website and it's available. But probably since 2020 and since that went on there, I'm going to say probably maybe 2 people have engaged in it. So it's just not a priority. And I think people, how do I say this? People, you don't know what you don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So other clients who've come and sat in my chair have said, well, my old hairdresser says that you're not doing anything different than they're doing. But sitting here in your chair, I can see you're doing different things, and
definitely
this is completely different. So I think there's either, people kind of either act out of fear or love. And I think there's a bit of element of fear about it because I can remember working at a hair salon and someone with very tight curls walked in the front door as a walk-in client looking for a haircut. The hairstylist all ran to the back room, like hoping, don't pick me, because nobody knew how to work with the hair. And I think we were conscious enough to realize that if we didn't know how to work with that hair type, we didn't want to ruin it. We didn't want to
tell them you don't know.
I know how to cut that. I know how to cut your hair, and then give them a jacked up haircut, So I think we knew better, but that should have been the light bulb moment going, okay, I don't know how to work with this texture. I better go and get some more training.
Well, I like
And
that
that
your light.
happens more often.
Yeah, I love that your light bulb moment was at a bus stop. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I really like that story.
Yeah, it just all happened very organically. And
Yeah.
I would say in my business, every decision that I have made has been made very much intuitively, like listening to my heart, listening to
Mm.
myself. Because if I had listened to those hairstylists
Told you not to
um,
do it.
who have said nobody's going to book for that, if I had been discouraged by that, I wouldn't be where I am
You
today,
wouldn't know.
being able to help people. So I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's
amazing.
I think it's very important to block out the outside
Oh
noise
yeah,
when
and
you're trying to make decisions for yourself.
listen to the inner voice, which is
Yeah.
usually right. Well, I will say that going to your salon, it's an experience. And I mean, it's an amazing experience, especially the first time, because it's a longer appointment, which is why you take time with the client to know their curls.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's teaching, like you teach how to use product, which products might work, how to blow dry it, whatever, everything. It's awesome.
Yeah, I
And then
really,
after,
really want people to know that the steps.
yeah,
I don't want them to just look good for the day when I do their hair. I want
right.
them to learn how to make themselves
And
look good
it's,
every day of the year
yeah,
because you're my walking business card. So if you're like out in public
right.
and people are like, "My God, your hair is amazing," who do you go see? I can be like,
Exactly, and
"Oh, my,"
that's happened to me a few times, so I
that's
hopefully
awesome.
send a few people your way, but,
Yeah, I love it.
what was I gonna say? The other thing is too, like, after you do the initial, like, first appointment, then you do the regular, like,
That's
hair
right. Yeah.
appointment, so once you know the person's hair, then they can just go for a cut or, like, you offer dry cuts or wet cuts or styling or no styling, like, it's quite something, and
Yeah.
I've even learned so much over the years that I've been going to you,
Mhm.
like about my hair and how it grows and how it's changed as I've aged and
Mm.
all of that. So it's really been a game changer for me. So personally, I want to thank you for being here.
I'm so
So
glad. I
yes,
really just it
really.
brings me so much joy when someone just
Oh
really
yeah.
loves their hair, as they were born. That you were born with these
Yes,
curls.
absolutely.
We're not trying to change it. We're just trying to enhance it and make it last more than a day.
Yeah,
That's the goal.
that's
Yeah.
that's for sure. It's happened to me. Like, cause all my whole life, every hairdresser I went to, probably until you or
Mhm.
most of them anyway, always offered, "Do you want?"
Oh, I lost you there.
Oh, here I am.
Oh,
Anyway,
there you go. So you said every hairdresser you went to offered,
you straighten it.
oh, to straighten it. Yeah.
Always. I never wanted
But
it straightened. I look really
right.
weird with straight hair. But anyway.
But you know why they wanted to straighten
Yeah,
it?
because
Because
I
they just
know.
gave you a very technically the haircut in a straight form was probably beautiful
Yeah,
and looked nice in its straight form. So they really
right.
needed to almost check their work too by straightening it.
Maybe. Yeah, probably.
Right. So just to make
Yeah.
sure it's even, but there's this disconnection between you saying, I want to wear my hair curly and them cutting it and styling it to be worn straight. They don't realize that when you go to wash that, it's going to be all
Yeah.
lopsided because your curls are all at different
Yeah.
spring factors. So somewhere there's a disconnect, and I don't know whether there's just a lack of awareness or not caring or just
Right.
saying I'm a really good hair cutter in for people who want to wear
Yeah.
their hair straight, like, and that's fine. But if a client comes to sit in your chair and says, I love my curls and I want to wear it curly, and then you as a stylist offer to straighten it, that's a huge red flag for the client. They're not going to be back. They're not coming
Right.
back. They
I
want
did.
someone who will style it curly, make it look good
Right.
curly with a nice curly cut. That's what they're asking
I
for.
I do want to say, because I am from Fredericton, I did have some really good hairstylists over the
That's
years.
good.
So I do want to say that it wasn't everybody, but
No, no, no,
yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah.
I mean,
No, I
yeah,
just
I've
want
had some good haircuts too, and wet
yeah,
cuts. Because again, the
yeah.
person understood maybe a little bit more about curl pattern. They understood head shape, so, and
Mhm.
it translated, well to curls too. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's just there is definitely a need for more education
on curly
when it
hair.
comes to curls, and that's what I'm hoping to change about the industry. And as of right now, I've got 3 teenagers, so life is
Yeah,
busy, but that is my next passion project.
that's
Once I get the middle
amazing.
school one off the ground, is to hopefully change the content of the cosmetology programming. So I've actually written a 250-page plus hairstylist
Wow.
manual for what I believe is the missing chapters in the cosmetology textbook.
Right. Well, fingers crossed, and
So,
hopefully that moving forward that will get published.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
hope. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, Krista, thank you so much. I'd love hearing your story and you working your passion. That's what we're all about here at the Soul's Kitchen. So
Yes.
thank you. Okay, I got to ask you a couple of questions before we go
Okay. All right. You
that
go
I
ahead.
ask everybody. One, and you probably already answered them within the program, but what would your younger self be proud of that you're doing now, or about you now?
Oh, probably my middle school project.
Right on.
Yeah, my community
Beautiful.
service like that.
Yeah.
Every time I go into middle school and I teach that, the content to them, a little part of me gets healed, I think.
Oh.
It's very
Yeah.
touching to empower them and
Mhm.
so that they can, practice what I teach them. And
Right.
again, it's not going to happen overnight, but the more practice, the better
Right.
they'll get, and they'll eventually be able to walk around proudly with
their
their
hair.
own
Yeah.
natural texture. So yeah, I'd say it's my middle school project.
Okay.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Um, what is a belief that you once had that has changed over time?
Well, I'd say that my hair is horrible and cursed. I would say that's a belief, when it
Right.
comes to hair.
Yes. Yes.
I really felt like I just really had bad hair. There's a
Right.
documentary about, I think, Good Hair with Chris Rock.
Oh, yes. That was a
Um,
great documentary. Yeah.
yeah. So I think, yeah, just kind of feeling like never being encouraged to wear my natural curl
Mhm.
pattern, like always feeling like, oh, it's going to look better if somebody styles it straight,
Right.
and it's going to look better if I figured out how to style it straight. So
Right.
yeah, like not realizing or not
Mm.
believing that. And I think I still have trouble when I'm out and about and somebody says, God, you have
Yeah.
like
You
gorgeous
do.
hair. And I still have trouble believing that I have gorgeous
Right.
hair. It's still in me,
Yeah.
it's still part of me, but I really am trying to overcome it and make sure I'm like, thank you so much.
Well, you're coming
Yeah.
full circle with going into the middle school. So like you said, that it's healing you every time. I love
Mhm.
that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question for you, because the Soul's Kitchen, I have a cooking background, so that's why the podcast is called the Soul's Kitchen. So
Awesome.
what would you say is your ingredient for life?
I would say if you can dream it, you can do it.
Love
If you can
it.
dream it, you
So
can do it. It's like the field of dreams, if
yeah,
you build it, they will come. That
got it.
kind of has
Yes.
always been, if
So that's
I
happened to you. Yeah.
that's happened to me. If there was something that I wanted in my life, something I felt that was really important that might make a difference to people, just
Yeah.
having
Just
that
do it.
can-do attitude, I can
Yes.
do it.
Can
I just
do.
have to figure out how. And it's never steered me wrong. I've
Right.
always felt
Yeah.
really fulfilled after, you know, doing what I
And
dreamt of,
I love
making
that
it
because
happen.
can do, it sounds like an ingredient, like put a little can do in that, make it
That's
better.
right. You need
I
to
love
make
it.
up like an ingredient list,
Yeah.
in your podcast, add an ingredient
Good.
list for a
Yeah.
recipe
That's a great
with
idea.
every person
What's
that gives you a little,
I
right? Like the recipe for happiness, you've seen that
Yes.
before?
Maybe
Yeah,
that's my next project. I'm just writing a book about the ingredients for life,
that would be amazing.
inspired by the podcast. Well, thank you so much, Krista. I loved having
You're
you on. I'm
welcome.
gonna post this today, which is April the
Okay.
30th. And in when I post, I'll link your website and all of how everyone can. Then people can find you on Instagram and Facebook as well, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Curl Specialist on
Girl
Instagram,
Specialist.
and
Yep.
Facebook is Krista Leavitt Curl Specialist.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much, Krista.
Thanks, Lisa. It was
All
a
right.
joy.
Yeah. See you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.